Hi everyone, I'm MaryAnn. I'm a visual artist and voice coach from Singapore, currently in Singapore, and welcome to another installment of my weekly vlog series, Live Your Dream. So if you're someone who has a dream and you want to make it come true and you don't really know how to get started, or you have already started taking action towards that dream, but somehow you're feeling a little bit stuck, you're feeling confused, maybe you're looking for some answers, well, I'm here to share whatever it is that I have learned and am learning in my journey so far, in the hopes that it can provide some direction for you, some inspiration, motivation, encouragement. Well, at the very least, you know that you are not alone in this journey because I'm here every single week. At least that's the plan for now, to be here every single week and share something that I've learned this week in that journey. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and you can also message me through any of my social media links, which are in the write-ups attached to these videos. And if you have enjoyed this video and this series, do subscribe to my channel as well and make sure that your notifications is turned on so you know every time there's a new vlog uploaded, which would usually be like every Wednesday. So this week I have been feeling a little bit all over the place. Well, I guess when am I ever not feeling all over the place, right? And I discovered that it is because I once again am trying to do way too many things at the same time, and it ends up being like, you know, a whole mess of like many different possible paths and like which one do I choose right now? And so it gets a little bit confusing. So to break it down a bit more specifically, as a visual artist right now I am currently working on developing my drawing skill set because that is a foundation that I am lacking since I never went to art school. And even though I have sold paintings, even though I have painted murals, not having those basic foundational skills has, you know, I've gotten by far enough to some point, but now I've reached a place where I'm starting to see some of my gaps when it comes to having this kind of rigor and practice as an artist. So I'm working on that at the moment. And then at the same time, I've also been trying to develop a new series of paintings because there's a part of me that's just telling me that, oh, you know, I want to have an exhibition and I want to have it soon, and so I need to develop this series of paintings and have a proper studio practice so that I can really feel like I'm a legit artist and I'm a practicing legit artist. And then there's another part of me going that, okay, you know, I haven't painted a single dream tree mural because that's my goal, right? To do 100 of these murals around the world. And I've done 8 so far, and like, you know, the 8th one was done like more than a year and a half ago, and I have been like telling myself that I need to do number 9 like really, really, really soon. And so with all these different voices in my head, you know, plus I'm also a voice coach and I'm also working on a singing practice at the same time, it became like, oh my gosh, you know, what do I even focus on? How do I choose, you know, what I'm supposed to do right now? And in last week's video, I shared about how I learned that it's really important to enjoy the current stage of the journey that you're in. And so I recognized that I am in an apprenticeship stage of the mastery journey. You know, if you look at like, you know, Malcolm Gladwell saying that, you know, 10,000 hours is like the average number that we need to master something. In art right now I'm probably at like maybe, you know, the 200th hour or something. Okay, so I'm still in the apprenticeship stage, which is a pretty long stage. And this is the time where, you know, I need to hone my skill sets and I need to learn as much as I can and build the foundation, learn as much as I can in terms of the foundational skill set that I need. And so there was a part of me that's finding it really hard to accept that this is the stage I'm in, and then I keep trying to push that I need to create work, I need to be selling, I need to be exhibiting, when really the stage that I'm in now is more like developing whatever skills I need so that I can create something that would come next. So one of the things that I realized this week is that I cannot do everything. And this was a very apt reminder that came about when I received an email in my inbox from one of the blogs that I subscribe to called The Unmistakable Creative. The apt reminder came in the form of an article called Focus on What You Can Be Good At. And essentially what he's saying is that, you know, we want to do everything. I mean, we live in a culture now where, because we're exposed to so many different choices, we're exposed to all kinds of, we have inside access to all kinds of professions that we never did before because of the internet, because of technology, because of social media. And suddenly it's like, wow, you know, we have all these different possibilities of what we can do that opens up in front of us. And then of course, at the same time we see people who are successful in these different areas, and we start to think that, yeah, I want to be like them too. And so we start to, emulate our idols or our influencers, and thinking that, that is a success formula that would also be applicable to us. But the reality is that every single one of us here, we are on a path that is uniquely ours. And the life that you have, you are the only person who can live it in the best possible way that makes sense to you. Like, nobody else can tell you how to live your life. Not society, not your parents, not, whatever framework you have about how life is supposed to be. That's really not you either. And I don't want to go into a whole philosophical debate of like who we are and why we're here and what's our purpose, because I myself don't really know anyway. But all I know so far is that I think every single one of us has something that really calls to us, has something that really resonates with us. And when I say resonate, I don't mean like, I think I should do this because it's going to earn me the most money, but it's more like something deep down inside that you are willing to do whatever it takes to make happen, whether you get paid or not. So essentially, whatever this thing is, money would not be a motivator. If anything, that thing that you want to do is the motivator itself. Mastery and the journey of mastering yourself and the journey of discovering something that you're really good at and working at it until you become exceptional at it is a journey in and of itself and for its own sake. So it's not for recognition, it's not for money, it's not for trying to prove people wrong that, you didn't believe in me and so now I'm like, look at me now, I'm successful. Like, it's not about those things. It's something that really calls to you and resonates with you. And if anything, it's like, my life doesn't mean anything if I don't have this type of thing. And so when I read this article, Focus on What You Can Be Good At, I started to look at my own journey. And one of the points that he brings up, I have the article here, is that our time is limited. And because your time is limited, you want to focus on what is it that you can really become good at and something that also resonates with you. And so one of the things he says is don't follow best practices or trends, because that's where, these influencers and these trends that are happening, like, yes, they may seem like it is a proven formula for success, and to some extent it would work for certain kinds of people, but it may not necessarily be something that works for you, and it may not be something that you even resonate with, and we might be also pursuing that for the wrong reasons, like not because we want to do it, but because we think it's a quick way to earn money and earn success or whatever that is. I'm not saying that money and success is a bad thing. Obviously, they are great as well. I'm just saying that we want to look at something that ultimately at the end of the life you can say that you really put your time and energy into something worthwhile. Like something worthwhile has a meaningful purpose for you. So the thing in his article that really caught my attention was ask yourself what you could be extraordinary at. And so what he's saying is that, you don't want to be like a jack of all trades, because that would mean that you're going to be exceptional at none of them. And it is very common nowadays that we're not going to be just limited to one field of study, because, we have so many different possibilities now, and there are so many things that are interesting to us. And most masters, in fact, are not just masters in one area. They're usually a master in a couple of areas, and then because of that, they can create something new with the skill sets that they have learned and the experiences that they have gained along the journey. So he goes on to say there are many things we are all capable of, but very few that we were born to do. And like, for example, he says if you're deaf, you might be able to become a musician, but you probably weren't born to be one. And if you're bad at math, you might be able to become a decent programmer, but you probably weren't born to be one. So essentially the idea is that, if we could be truly excellent at only one thing, what would it be? And you want to identify what that thing is so that you can start building yourself up in that area and doing whatever it takes to go on that journey, and basically just not letting it up until you get to the point that you need to get to. So the thing about this journey that I've learned also is that it's not very clear cut sometimes. Like we can have a starting point where we can resonate with certain things, and then we start embarking on that journey, and then maybe you start to feel like something doesn't feel right or something else calls to you. So it is very natural to go through an exploration stage of that journey. But then at a certain point, after you have explored enough, you're going to start to notice that certain patterns keep recurring, certain things keep coming back to you. And for me, what keeps coming back to me is basically I am a visual artist and I sing. And when I first did my first solo exhibition, I actually stopped singing for a good 3 to 4 years. And when I came back to it again, I started to see how this was a huge part that was missing in my life. And then ever since then, I've just been working at it again and again and, you know, catching up wherever I have left off previously and developing new skill sets and new technical abilities when it comes to singing as well. And at the same time with art, because I have been producing different series of works, I have been exhibiting, I realized that now I hit a point where my foundational skill set isn't quite there and I need to work on that. And so for me, I am at a point now where I have made my decision in terms of which two areas that I want to focus my time and energy in. I don't know yet what would come of that whole process of learning and mastering these two areas, but I just all I know is that I just have to keep going on this path and to see where it leads. And all I know is that I cannot do without these two things in my life. I just cannot do without them because I have before. I mean, I wasn't an artist for like a good 20 years because I was discouraged from my dream when I was 8 years old. And you know, for the good 20 years, that part of me was missing and I didn't even know it until I reconnected with it again when I was 28 when I did a drawing class. And then with music and singing, you know, I stopped for 3.5 to 4 years when I started exploring, you know, my path as an artist. And then realizing when I came back to it again that I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, this has been a huge missing thing in my life. And so now I'm at a point where, okay, you know, these are the two things that I want to focus on. And then after that, it's also being about very clear about which stage of the journey you're in so that you're not trying to rush things along. Because I think, you know, by trying to get another wall here in Singapore, by trying to complete a series of works and then also developing my drawing practice, it became a little bit too much. And I realized that I'm at a stage now where I just need to learn as much as I can about singing, about art, about drawing, maybe even about painting, I don't know yet, and to see how this part of the journey unfolds. And then the other thing is that once you're clear what is it you want to focus on, then how do you speed up that process? How do you put in more of your time and energy? How do you expand your capacity such that you can do a lot more in a very short time and become more efficient in the way you use your time so that you can progress along faster? And this is something that I would share probably next week. I don't know yet. I shall see next week, but that is something that it becomes important in this journey as well. How do we move things along faster but without losing that focus? Yeah, so if you have enjoyed today's video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, or you can also directly message me through any one of my social media links which are in the write-ups attached to this video, and I will see you next week.